Excel modeling case studies are becoming more and more common in the real estate interview process in general, especially at some of the biggest firms in the industry that also tend to pay the most. But in the vast majority of cases, you won't know exactly what's going to be on one of these tests, and this means that beyond making sure that your Excel and financial modeling skills are where they need to be, you also need an exam strategy that you'll be able to apply in any case you work on. So to make sure you have a game plan going into one of these exams, in this video, I want to share 4 of my biggest pieces of advice when working through a modeling case study and how to maximize your chances of making it past this stage. So my first piece of advice is specific to timed modeling case studies, and this is to prioritize accuracy over completion if you have to choose between the two. Many Excel modeling case studies are in-office timed exams where you'll have anywhere from about 1 to 4 hours to complete the test, and this can create a really stressful situation which can often lead people to rush and ultimately make mistakes. But rushing just for the sake of answering every single question on a test or even building out all components of a model usually isn't the right move if you're strapped for time, and ideally you want to prioritize getting things right before getting things done. In many cases, companies will actually make these exams take longer to complete than the time frame they've given you just to see how you might work under pressure and how you might respond if you can't meet a deadline. And whatever you end up submitting within a case study setting is automatically going to be seen as the kind of work product that you would produce on the job. And if you hand in something that's sloppy or incorrect just for the sake of finishing on time, this is usually even worse than not finishing at all. And if you step back and think about this from an employer's perspective, a hiring manager would much rather have an analyst that takes a few extra hours of work to get something done right, rather than having someone that routinely makes mistakes because they're rushing to finish every project they're given. If you don't end up finishing an in-office exam on time, don't just take random guesses to answer questions, and instead just take a minute at the end of the test to add a note that you wanted to prioritize accuracy over completion and you weren't able to finish everything within the assignment, but you'd be happy to complete this at home or back at the office at a later date. Now, this next piece of advice is surprisingly applicable to the vast majority of Excel modeling case studies, and this is to explain your assumptions if anything in the exam prompt doesn't end up being clear. In a modeling case study, you'll usually be given a set of inputs that you'll need to use to build out a model, but in some cases, these inputs might be missing some information. This is usually related to things like the application of market rent growth, either on a monthly or annual basis, the timing of capital expenses and when these start and end, and even a target IRR you should be using to value a potential acquisition. And if there is any gray area in the information you've been given, one of the best ways to cover your bases and make sure that you're going to be on the same page as the person who will be reviewing your exam is to add a comment next to a cell where you've made an assumption, including what was unclear to you in the prompt and why you made the assumption you did. And this way, even if your numbers are incorrect, a hiring manager can still track your thought process, and if this ends up throwing off other calculations in the model, this error can at least be isolated from the rest of the work product you produced. Even if you want to include a small assumptions section at the bottom of your model instead that lists all of these assumptions in detail, this will help you talk through your work more thoroughly and help you explain any issues that might come up in your projections. Now, my next piece of advice when going into a modeling exam can be tough to do in high pressure situations, but this is to step back and think about the property you're underwriting itself rather than just the numbers. And what I mean by this is that without pictures of a property and a tangible asset you can think about in your head, it can be easy to forget that you're underwriting a piece of commercial real estate, and because of that, it can be very easy to come up with some very inaccurate projections that you just wouldn't see on a real estate deal. For example, if you're asked to underwrite a shopping center that's priced at $10 million, but the NOI you've calculated in year 1 is projected to be $4 million, a 40% going in cap rate on any commercial real estate deal probably isn't realistic, and it's very likely that you've either added an extra zero somewhere or used an annual assumption within your monthly cash flow projections. If your IRR is in the triple digits, if your cash flow is projected to be negative throughout the majority of your hold period, or if your revenue projections are more than about 10 times higher than your expense projections on an annual basis, it's very likely that something is wrong within your model and you'll need to go back and check your work. The key takeaway here is to keep in mind that you might be analyzing a 10-story office building or a 200-unit apartment complex that just so happens to generate the assumptions you've been given, and this can make it a lot easier to spot potential mistakes up front that might have caused major issues in your cash flow projections and ultimately your answers within an exam. Now, the last thing I want to bring up here should really be a given, but I don't see people paying nearly enough attention to this, and this is to also focus on the non-financial details of your model and create a clean and clear work product. Even if your numbers are correct, if you submit a model with sloppy formatting or spelling errors throughout the pro forma, this is not going to reflect well on you as a candidate, and this can significantly reduce the chances of you landing an offer. In the vast majority of real estate analyst and associate roles, you're not only going to be tasked with plugging in assumptions into a pre-built Excel file, and you'll also need to create detailed market research reports, write up compelling investment memos, and regularly correspond with brokers, lenders, and other third parties in a professional way. And if the model you build within an exam includes no or very little formatting and is full of grammatical or spelling errors, this is again going to be seen as indicative of the kind of work product that you would put together on the job and shows a lack of attention to detail on things that could easily be checked. Now, this does not mean that you need to go all out with your design and add things like the company's logo or fancy font styles to your model, but you will want to make sure that things like all of your currency values are in the same currency format, all of your date values are in the same date format, the formatting of your revenue and expense line items are differentiated from your timing headers, and your return metrics are incorporated into their own specific section. The goal here is really to make this clean, professional, and easy to read for a hiring manager, since this person is very likely going to be short on time on the job and relying on you to create a model that's going to naturally draw their eye to the most important parts of the file, and they can feel confident sending this off to clients or partners with very little oversight. So I hope these strategies are helpful if you have an exam coming up or you just want to make sure you're prepared for one of these in the future. And if you want to make sure you have the real estate finance knowledge and the Excel skills you'll need to build a model from scratch in the first place within a case study scenario, make sure to check out our all-in-one membership training platform, Breaking a CRE Academy. A membership to the Academy will give you instant access to over 120 hours of video training on real estate financial modeling and analysis. You'll get access to hundreds of practice Excel interview exam questions, sample acquisition case studies, and you'll also get access to the Breaking a CRE Analyst Certification exam, which covers topics like real estate pro forma and development modeling, commercial real estate lease modeling, equity waterfall modeling, and many other real estate financial analysis concepts that will help you prove to employers that you have what it takes to tackle the responsibilities of an analyst or associate at a top real estate firm. And if you like this video and want to see more content on the channel on what to expect during Excel modeling exams, make sure to hit the like button and let me know. And let me know in the comments what other interview related topics you'd like to see covered in a future video. As always, thanks so much for watching, guys. I hope you found this helpful. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already to see more videos like this every single week, and I'll see you in the next video.